All right, let's get this party started.
Sounds good.
So today I observed your class during reading.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the lesson that I observed and your overall thoughts about the lesson.
Yeah, so we were doing guided reading, and so I have 3 different groups for guided reading, and so the group that I was working today was my novel study group. So it's a group of 6 or 7, and they we're going through the novel, and so we have, during the guided reading session, we do a mixture of popcorn reading, and then we do they silently finish a chapter, and then I question them as they're silently reading.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay. So overall, how did you feel about the lesson or the guided reading group? Did you feel like you accomplished the goal that you set out to accomplish, or?
Definitely. So, so a lot of it right now we're working in higher order, and we're in the middle of the book. So there's a lot of we're looking at character traits more through different, and kind of seeing how the characters are evolving.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see that. And so some of the questioning's getting pretty deep. So I think it's we're touching on that pretty well. And the kids are responding to the deep questioning. Okay.
All right. If you could change one thing about your delivery today, what would you change?
So I think that I always want to hear students more individual when we're reading. So I think I would like to find a way, just in general, of being able to trust the independence of the group.
Yes.
And letting go a little bit. And so that's more of a personal issue, right? I want to be able to let go and let them.
You're like, what are you doing over there? Because you never really know what they're doing.
So that's why popcorn reading is in there. Because then I know at least we're all in the same place and moving.
Gotcha.
As opposed to somewhere else. Even though I know that's not, I'd rather not do that.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's semi right now. Semi popcorn, semi independent.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the group that you had. So when I looked at your personalized learning plan, I saw that was group 2. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's your group 2. And look like they're on level Q, if I'm not mistaken. I love the book that you selected for them. One that's very relatable, very cute topic. I saw your learning target that you had in there, compare and contrast setting the characters. Had a lot of dialogue about characters, which was awesome. Your kids in that group really can read really, really well. But one question that came to mind as I was listening is, what reading behavior were students working on? What was your focus?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. So, we're thinking, so that's something I want to drill down into.
Okay.
And, quite honestly, I'm not sure that today we were specifically working on a learning target, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Fluency, I suppose, and some of that. But each kid would have, has a different, kind of thing that we need to work on. And that's why I want to be able to work on more independent as opposed to popcorn reading, because they're all need to be more individualized. So.
Yes, and it is possible. I mean, during the guided reading group, they're using a novel, right? Because some people get literature circles and guided reading a little confused. Guided reading is where we want to set them up so that when they do read on their own, that they have these reading behaviors that they've mastered, and they can now do it independently. So if you want to merge the two, if you will, just make sure that whatever your learning target is or the reading behavior that you're focusing on, that you're explicit.
I was just going to say, it's got to be very intentional.
Very intentional, very, very explicit. So just be sure to state it so that when you do release them, because today, the way you guys read together and had some dialogue, you stopped and asked questions to them, they were able to recall those events, but as they're reading, would they do that on their own?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just being sure that you state, hey, I'm getting ready to release you to read independently, but this is what you're working on today, so they can practice the skill. So comparing and contrasting setting and characters, that is a grade level standard. So you did a great job lifting the standard. So now I just want to see some more explicit work around reading behaviors, because ultimately we want students to be better readers. All right. So the resource, you have this resource already, which is the learning continuum. And I know sometimes just the text in itself could be a little overwhelming, but it's a really great resource. So I just want to be clear that you know how to utilize it when looking for reading behaviors. So for this particular group, it was level Q. So if you go to level Q, let's try to find a reading behavior that we possibly could incorporate with the group that you was reading to today. So tomorrow when you meet with them, because they're on your schedule again tomorrow, you can actually start lifting that behavior with them as well.
Okay. So we're looking at in the text.
So these are thinking within the text.
Mm-hmm.
So you can start there. There's some questions that's beyond the text, but I will honestly start here.
I would too, and especially since the beyond the text is we do that a lot as a group.
Yes,
You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
So within the text would probably be better for them when they're independent.
Yep.
Especially if I'm trying to release them, chunking it.
So I'm gonna give you this little sticky note, and if
Yeah.
you will, just write down maybe 1 or 2 behaviors you would want to focus on for the rest of this week,
Okay.
because we know we're approaching a break and we don't want to give them too much at one time. Chunking is always a good thing. And as you're selecting your reading behavior, think about the standard that you're addressing to, comparing and contrasting characters, one that would support that work. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that.
So the one,
What are you thinking?
search for information across chapters connected to a single plot.
Love that.
So connecting from chapter to chapter, so they're able to kind of connect all the different themes that are going and
Yeah.
being involved there.
So how would you like them to do that? Just in their discussion, or is it like a graphic organizer that you're going to provide, or they just need to share out with you?
I like the like a graphic organizer that shows the continuum and the progression. So
Yeah.
I think I think definitely through a graphic organizer. I want something concrete.
Yeah.
And they can do that independent while they're reading, and that'll help them organize their thoughts too.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I was thinking, like, and it doesn't all the time have to be like a template that you printed from the computer.
Yeah.
Like, students should have the freedom to sketch it out the way that they can remember it. So just providing them with scratch paper. Hey, as you're reading, write down any connections you're making from a previous chapter, and I'm going to check in with you to see what those connections are. All right. So I think that's perfect for, again, for the standard that you're teaching. I think that's an important reading behavior. They do need to make connections from various chapters and from other texts that they've read. That's part of the structure of FMP, where they have that interactive read aloud piece where they're supposed to connect to prior knowledge. So can I come back on tomorrow or Wednesday just to take a look at how this is progressing and to see if we need to make any shifts in what you're planning to do?
Definitely.
All right.
Sounds
Any
good.
questions about how to use the resource?
Not at all. Not at all. This
Okay.
is something I just need to pull out and use more.
Yes.
So it's a great resource. So I'm glad.
And you have some really good ones in your personalized learning
Yeah.
plan, because one that you had in here is that asking students to use what they read independently to make some connections. So that was a really good one. It's just being explicit in the delivery, making sure students know what they're working on when they're reading independently.
Okay.
All right. Any
sense.
questions for me?
Not at all. No.
Do you need a graphic organizer, or are we just going to have them sketch it out
We'll
on
have
their
them
own?
sketch it out, and as I see it, I can create it if some of them need it. Some of them will need it, so I'll have
Okay.
one create it, so I know I'm going to use it.
All righty. Well, I will see you on tomorrow, and we'll take a look and see if we need to make any shifts.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.